now. If you can see the picture there, where you are really at a stage where you need help, you need to maybe talk to someone who succeeded in their application. And not only chevening, because what we will do today is to give you general tips to apply to any other scholarship, because I know there's quite a number. There's MasterCard, there is Commonwealth, and plenty of others. So actually, this is usually the period, the window of application up until December. So if you miss this period, you'll have to wait for another academic year to be able to apply. So you're at the right place, don't panic, and we'll try as much as we can to answer some of your questions. So in today's session, we're going to cover some of the websites that are really helpful in your application, the key deadlines, eligibility criteria, and dwell mostly in the essay writing, because that is the main component of the scholarship. And then university selection, required documents, and if you go to the next stage, then what next? What really happens during the interview stage? And I want to mention that Irene is here, and Irene has really helped a lot of scholars who have been awarded this scholarship, including myself. When I, reached the interview stage, I didn't know what kind of questions to expect. And when I reached out to her, she really gave me some wonderful tips that helped me during the process. And so it's always a good practice to ask, to reach out if you feel that you don't feel so much confident about how the process looks like. And some of these questions in that form that you are registering, we were able to already record some of the questions that were asked. So we'll try as much as possible to answer those. Now, these are the websites. I was surprised. Some people are asking, how much are they offering? What is the application process? Now, I want to say, and the other panelists can also tell you, that all this information is online. So what you need to do is just Google, make Google your friend. And in those, maybe when you get something you don't know or you want to refer, you can ask someone. So all these are the websites that you can get very meaningful information. Now, these are the key deadlines. I'll just rush through because I know most of you, if you really want this, then you've already gone through this information. And the first thing you should usually look for is the closing date, which is the application deadline. And as you can see, we have, I think, only 2 to 3 weeks to the deadline. And so you should be able to plan your time, even if you have a full-time job, to be able to prioritize this after work hours or, during the weekends. And all these are also just like processes to tell you that, okay, February 22, I need to have uploaded all the documents, all the references, all the transcripts if you don't have them already. And then the interview period is usually from March, 1st March to April. And then by June, you get your results. But then in July 15th, you should accept your offer. And by then you should already have unconditional offer from the university. And in September and October, you begin your studies. So eligibility criteria, this is the most asked question. I wonder why, because all this information is there online. You have to be, Kenya is eligible, a lot of African countries are eligible, and then you have to commit that you're coming back after the scholarship for at least 2 years at the end of your awards. and then you will have completed all the components of your studies, which means you might not have graduated now, but you foresee that by February, you should have your transcripts if you're planning to apply before graduation. And then this is another question that is most asked. If I have a second lower, do I qualify? Really, Chevening does not look into details in your qualification, unless, I mean, if you have the unconditional offer from my university, it means that you already reached that threshold that they're looking for. And then you should have at least 2 years working experience, which is not exclusively to paid work. It could be, you know, a volunteer, internship, and all that. So someone is wondering, I just graduated last year, I don't have this amount of work. But the truth is, if you are a proactive student, you should already have, you know, that 2-year work experience, whether be it a volunteer. And then apply to 3 eligible universities. One of the questions a lot of people ask me, do I have to have unconditional offer now before I apply? The answer is no. Personally, I applied. I just identified the 3 universities and 1 course that is offered in those universities, because that is also key. People identify 3 different courses, you know, but you'll fumble in writing your essay onto what you really want to do and what you'll do when you're coming back. So to show that you're focused, you really need to only choose 1 course. They might be framed in different ways, but it's really 1 course, but offered in 3 different universities. And then in that application, you'll just write that you've already applied, but you're waiting decision. But you should not have the unconditional offer at this point. The thing you need to do before a deadline is to identify those 3 institutions and 1 course that you want to do, and just inform them that you have already identified them. And then by February, even before that, December to February, you should make an effort to apply to those schools. And most of the time you'll be accepted unless you really performed poorly. And then the language requirement for our year was removed, and for next year as well has been removed, but you'll realize that almost all of the schools will require the language, the IELTS or TOEFL, some kind of language requirement. But for Chevening, I think it was removed according to the information on the website. Yeah, and then required documents, you all know this. People ask passport. You don't need to have a passport at this point. However, if you're selected for interview, then you should already start applying for passport. But as a general tip, really, because we are global citizens, you should have a passport by now if you're in this webinar. If not, please make an effort to have it. And then the degree certificate and transcripts, and then 3 different universities, and 2 references who, one should be your, you know, academic professor or something, and then 2 from the second one from a professional background, either your work, where you volunteer, your church, someone who, or your mosque, someone who can speak into your work. So then with that huge introduction, I want to move on to the speakers, and I'll just post this question to them. Irene, I want you to kindly try to respond to this question, and then Teresia will follow, and then John. When and how did you decide to apply for Chevening? Just to give our participants a feel of what it looks like. All right, Teresia.
Hello, hi Juma, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining, and I'm so happy to see that we are all here. So the question is, when and why did I decide to apply for Chevening? I decided to apply for Chevening back in 2018. By that time, when I graduated in 2016, I was just doing my own personal projects. And then I had this vision that I wanted to take my master's, but I didn't know, it had never come to my mind that I wanted to apply master's and school outside Kenya. So what I did actually, I came across this post from one of the previous scholar on social media, Facebook, and I got curious. So as I got curious, a friend of mine also mentioned to me, oh, would you like to apply for a scholarship? And I was like, oh yeah, why not? She sent me the same thing and I was like, interesting. Then afterwards, I got invited to a certain event at the British High Commission, and I met this gentleman who said that he is a Chevening scholar. The way he presented himself, I saw a lot of who I would like to be in future through him. And I decided actually I need to inquire more about the details of this scholarship. I went to the website, equipped myself with everything, and I was like, oh, interesting. So this is what I need to write. I never believed I was a writer. So I was like, but I really want to give it a go. And immediately, when I saw they just want to mold me as a leader and give me that exposure, I was like, why not? And since then, I just took the initiative to start writing my essays. And interesting enough, I loved it because all it needed me to do is to give my authentic journey and at the same time, the vision that I have for the future, which was so much of what I could just say about myself. So it was an easy process for me, and that is how I decided this is where I want to be, this is what I want to pursue onwards. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Teresia. Irene, are you here? Irene?
Hi everybody. Yes, I'm here. So for me, how I decided to apply for a Chevening scholarship, it basically came from, at that time I was highly involved in the volunteering work. I was about 2 years in, and I came to realize that the work I was doing was basically called public policy. But at that time, I didn't quite understand what public policy was. And also public policy was such a new work theme that so many people and so many universities didn't have that particular course in Kenya. So one of the main reasons I decided to study abroad was that I remember only Strathmore University had that course, so it was not available in Kenya. And then I also got inspired from a friend of mine who was also applying for the same scholarship the year before in 2016. So when she got the scholarship in 2016 and I saw that, wow, so somebody whom tumehustle naye anaweza pata hiyo scholarship, I got really inspired, and also it enabled me to want to go and study public policy so I could deepen in that particular field. So that is one of the reasons why I decided to study, to take this Chevening scholarship and study abroad.
Thank you, Irene. John?
Good evening, everyone. My name is John. I hope you can see me. I'm trying to use multiple gadgets here. Sorry. My name is John Omomba, as you had been told. I studied an MSc in Transportation Planning and Engineering at the University of Southampton. I think we are the same cohort with Irene. So when and what inspired me? I applied for the Chevening Scholarship first in the year 2013. So my undergrad I finished in 2012, and I applied for the scholarship in 2013. I had an urge to go and study a master somewhere, and I was actively looking for scholarships in so many places. I was looking for scholarships within the country and outside the country. So Chevening was one of the areas that I was attracted to, especially because one of my friends got selected for a scholarship, for the scholarship in 2013. So when he left, I actually got interested and asked him. No, he was selected in 2012. I asked him the tips of writing, applying for the scholarship. So in 2013, I made my first attempt, um, and I really wanted to go and master in transportation planning, because that had been my passion since I was studying urban planning at the University of Nairobi. So I basically wanted to master somewhere, and courses in transportation planning in the UK were the most outstanding from the areas where I was looking around. So the UK was an attractive place in the first place, and then Chevening was a topping, a cherry on top of the cake, and that's when I made my first attempt. Uh, Let me add that I applied 3 times before I got selected. So 2013 was the first time, 2015 the second time, and 2016 the third time. So for those who are applying, please be ready. If you fail the first attempt, do make other attempts. Thanks a lot. I think that suffices for that question.
So next question to our speakers today: how was your chevening journey? Including, just from when you heard about it, application, interview, selection, and for if you can also share your journey when you are in the UK. I'll start with Irene.
Well, my chevening journey was, I think, 2 years long journey, because I decided that I wanted to study for a master's degree in December 2015. So one of the things that I started doing, because I had already identified the particular university where I wanted to study and the particular course, I knew I wanted to go to University of Reading to do a master's in public policy. I didn't even want to go to any other university. I just wanted to go to Reading, because at that time Reading offered exactly what I wanted. Because if I remember well, I wanted to gain some broad understanding around the issues of politics in public policy, and I had done an undergrad of economics in public policy, economics and statistics. So at that time, University of Reading was the only university that had the kind of public policy course that I wanted. So I started by applying to the university. By the following year, February 2016, I had received a conditional offer to study the Masters in Public Policy. So for those who don't understand what a conditional or unconditional offer means, basically a conditional offer means that you have been given a place in that particular course. However, you need to meet certain conditions. And some of those conditions, for example, would be you need to do a language test for you to prove that you have the ability to clearly write and speak in English. Another condition our university will probably give you is you need to, for example, deposit some money so that they can be able to confirm your place in that particular university. So by February 2016, I had already received a conditional offer from the University of Reading. So I knew that I was going to study in the UK. I just didn't know how I was going to fund my particular course. So I remember that particular year is when my friend got the Chevening Scholarship as well, that particular September. And so she really encouraged me to also apply for the same scholarship. So I remember I started my essay writing so in September of 2016. And I knew by then I didn't apply to 3 universities, because by September of 2016, I had already received an unconditional offer from the University of Reading. And as I had said, it was the only university I wanted to go to study in the UK. So I started my application, writing my essays in September of 2016. I remember I would write my essays, leave them for a few weeks, and then reread them. And then I will notice some errors, and then I will write them again. But basically, my essays, I also remember, is that I wrote them from the passion and the commitment and the need to want to study for a master's in the UK. So it really came from my heart. And that was, I bet, one of the things that the people who judged my essays were able to see. So by February of 2017, I was shortlisted for the interviews. I was very glad, and I was also very surprised. And also gaining tips from my friend who had already proceeded to the UK. She really shared a lot of tips. You'll come to realize when you're applying for a Chevening scholarship, it's not a journey that you walk alone. You need to work with people, whether you work with the current or the past Cheveners, you need to be able to talk to them. And if you don't know any Chevening scholar, you can be able even to go on LinkedIn and just search Chevening scholar. There's some people who have reached out to me because they just searched on LinkedIn Chevening scholar, and they asked me, can you be able to help me revise or give me some tips for the essay application or the interviews? So I asked him, when I was going for my interviews, I asked my friend to give me tips, and she really gave me very good tips, because as I remember, about 98% of the questions I was asked in the interview, she had already prepared me for them. So I was able to even give or to answer those questions very well. And I also was able to show and clearly show my passion and my commitment to why I wanted to go to the UK and why I wanted a Chevening scholarship. So I waited for the next 3 months, between April all the way up to June. And by June, I got notified that I had already gained a Chevening scholarship, which I was very excited. And also I found it was such an honor and it was so much happiness, because it's something that it's one of the biggest things that will change your life. Let me tell you, apart from the day you're born, the day you get married, Chevening is the third thing that will transform your life. So the months after that was about preparing for you moving to the UK and you starting out your Chevening journey. So I will say the journey in the UK, as I said, it's a life-transforming journey. Chevening is not like any other scholarship. That's why it's one of the most prestigious scholarships, because Chevening is more than just education. It's education, it's fun, it's travel, it's absorbing the UK culture, it's you learning, it's you mingling with the people. You will find that, for example, when you look at these other scholarships, whether it's OFID, whether it's whatever scholarship, they will only pay for your education and maybe provide you with stipend, but they don't care how you're going to be able to absorb as much as possible in that new culture. But for Chevening, they'll pay for your education, they'll provide you with money to pay for your accommodation and everything, and they'll also organize events and activities for you to be able to understand what the British culture is, who are the British people. Because as I remember, one of the things that we were told during our orientation event is that we don't want just you to come here to the UK to receive a master's degree. We want you to come and absorb and gain values so that you can become valuable for when you go back home, so that we can be able to transform your community and your society. So it's not just about an UK education. You also gain the values, you also gain the culture, the experience, a different set and mindset of thinking, which really transforms the way you think when you come back. Basically, when you speak to any Chevener in any field in this, whether it's in government, whether it's in the private sector, whether it's in the NGO, you'll notice a difference in the way they speak, the way they engage, the way they think, and that is what the Chevening journey is about.
Yeah, thanks, Irene. Teresia?
Thank you, Juma. First of all, I want to mention that I actually met Irene Mwangi through my journey of this Chevening, you know. So my journey has been quite interesting and quite exciting, actually, because it has got me to where it has got me today. And so when I started applying for the scholarship back in 2018, I was so determined. And of course, it was so, you know, it was for a long time, I had not even written anything. And so I never believed that I could be that creative writer, that I could give a story through writing. But then I remember I made efforts to actually go online and find more information about chevening. You will notice right now, as you, in the process of applying, if you go to social media, if you're interested in chevening, you'll find a lot of people sharing information about chevening. If I were you, because it helped me a lot, listen to every word. Come back and reflect on your journey. In terms of the essays, I actually went online, read people's essays that they had written, and actually tried to find out how can I find the rhythm within my own story. So I did that, and surprisingly, no one ever reviewed my first essays back in 2018. I just forwarded them, and I remember actually I forwarded like 2 hours to the deadline. So what I did actually is that once I forwarded, I was like, okay, let's see what is going to come through. But of course, I believe in myself so much. If you know me, you know I believe in myself so much. So I believed in myself, and yes, I made it to the shortlist. But then I will bring you back to what Irene said, that this is not a journey that you walk alone. Indeed, it's a journey you find people and you walk with them. Because I had never engaged with someone, no one had ever read my essays, no one guided me. I just wrote what was in my mind, gave my authentic journey and my authentic vision, and that was it. I never got anyone maybe to have a second eye and tell me, maybe you can change this and this. And actually, you know, in terms of the vision and the future and the universities, everything. So once I got shortlisted, I actually got in touch with the guy who actually, you know, posted about his selection on social media, and I got to first know about chevening. His name is Stephen Mashua. And so once I actually, when I got shortlisted, I got in touch with him and I told him, hey, I've been shortlisted for chevening. Would you mind please to help me, you know, get to understand how the interview process is like? And immediately we started to review everything, my essays and what I thought. I realized I started seeing some dotted lines somewhere. And I said, I will do my best. So I went, did the interview, and at the interview level, that is where I met Irene. Unfortunately, I didn't make it through the interview level, but I met Irene. And once I realized I was not selected, I got in touch with Irene. I did my best to actually search Irene. We never knew each other, but I did my best to search for Irene on social media, you know, with the people who could know her and stuff. And actually, I finally got in touch with her. And I asked her, hey, I didn't get selected. What did I miss? And she started guiding me and told me that, you know, your career vision and plan was not clear enough. And that is what couldn't get you through past the interview level. And I said, I will work on myself. In 2019, I was like, okay, I'm back at it again. I worked on my essay and gladly I could get in touch with Irene and still Stephen, who actually got to review my essays and go back to me. And I actually realized how much, you know, as a leader, you know what you want and everything, but sometimes you come to understand how much important it is to be guided, to let someone else see your mistakes and be willing to learn and mold yourself. And that is what exactly I did. They gave me feedback, I worked on the essays, and finally I submitted, which reminds me, right now you might be in so much hurry to submit the essays. I am telling you, it's not about how, you know, it's not about how quick you submit. It's about you making sure you do the right thing and whatever it takes to actually submit your essays. So that is what I did. And yes, in 2020, yes, I got the news that, hey, I have been selected. But then what I can reflect as well is the fact that chevening is a journey. Right now, you're working on your essays. Once you work on your essays, you will realize you'll go to the interview level. And the interview level still requires some sort of commitment for you to go through the interviews. Then you will wait until the interviews levels, you know, you do the interview, then you're back. You will actually see it's one moment after the other, and you need to take that moment as it is. So, you know, did the interview, got through, and hey, in, you know, here I am in 2020, September, got to travel here in Brighton. Right now, I am in Brighton, 2 weeks and 3 days old, and I can tell you what, the streets are inspiring in any way. The language is so polite with these people. Every day I go to town, I have a lot to learn every day to observe. And it's so much inspiring looking back to my country and what I want for my country in terms of development. And yeah, that is my journey. So far, so good. Thank you, Juma.
Thank you so much, Teresia, for that inspiring journey. I hope it inspires one or two people. And now back to you, John.
So I said my journey started in 2012 when I got the interest to apply, and I did my first application in 2013. So the first application, I got help from a friend who assisted me to review my essays. My essays, let me just say that my essays over time never changed. So I think, or I suspect that not having enough experience by the time I was applying, the first 2 times got me disqualified. By the third time, I did the same application. Everything was the same. And yeah, I got selected. So the Chevening journey for me has been a learning experience, and it has been, it taught me a lot of patience, because it was about 5 years of application. In between that time, I still applied for other scholarships, and I managed to secure a few. I got to summer school placements, and I also got a scholarship for the University of Nairobi, which I was doing from 2014. So in between the skills I gained from the application, I still applied them elsewhere. I got 2 partial scholarships still to the UK, but I could not get the fee difference to go and study. So for me, it has been a very good learning experience. It has taught me a lot of patience. And then the good thing is that at the end of it, I was able to get a scholarship to go and study the subject that I really wanted to study in the university that I wanted to study. So getting to the UK was a very enlightening experience for me. It was, I took it as an opportunity to go and learn as much as I can, and teach myself many things that I always wanted to do. So the opportunities when I got there were endless, and the environment was conducive for learning and doing other things on the side. Yeah, we got a lot of opportunities to travel around the UK and in other places of around Europe. So as Irene said, I would not want to repeat, Chevening gives you a well-rounded experience that you don't get in other places. So I would really encourage you to have first the motivation of why you would like to apply, what you would want to get out of it, what experiences are you looking forward to in the scholarship that you won't get elsewhere. Yeah, so the journey has been great. I got to study, and immediately I came back. I got placements in areas that I've been learning to dream working in. So the journey has been good for me, and I would really love that somebody else does experience the same. So needless to say that for those who have taken a step to attend this meeting, if you fail the first time, please don't give up. Apply another time. As long as you qualify and you have the time and there's really new, please just do make the application. The essays are the backbone of it, and I think that will be covered later. But take your time to write your essays. It is what most people, it's what most assessors will look at. So most of us from experience, we don't really like writing the essays. We really want to have the scholarship, but we don't like taking our time to write. That is like lying to yourself. Even if you do qualify, if you write essays that are not up to standard, automatically you just get disqualified. So I think that is the brief I could share about my experience. Unless somebody has a question that I could answer later, that's all I would like to say. Thank you.
Thanks, John. And I think that is a nice transition on to the next thing that we want to do. I hope by now you're not just applying for the sake of applying, but you have a vision that you want to achieve. And because most of the time someone would ask, so how much are they paying, you know? But as you would hear from our speakers, it's not about the money. It's about so many other things that we cannot see at this time, but later on, you would come to appreciate this process. Now, this is the backbone of this whole application, as John rightly put it. And I want our speakers to talk a little bit about their essays. You know, what are some of the top tips that you can use, that they, you know, might have used or might have come to learn about, that would give you an upper hand compared to other people. And actually, this is the main backbone of this application, because you might have the grades, you know, you might have a good recommendation, you might have everything else checked, but if your essays don't speak into who you are and what your visions are and why you want to study there, then you know, you won't be selected. Even if you had a first class, or they would pick someone else over you because you didn't write good essays. So again, I'll just do another round. I see some people raised their hands, but please bear with us. When this question is over, then we can move to the Q&A. But this is also very important. I hope it will answer most of the questions that you will have. So again, I'll start with you, Irene. Forgive me, but you've inspired so many people during the process, and this is the beauty of it. Once you get there, you know, the buck does not stop there. You also reach out to other people, see how you can help. So what do you normally advise applicants? I know that you've sat in these panels, you know what they want, you know what they don't want. So what are the top tips that you can share with the participants today? Irene.
Thank you, Brian. For me, the top tips will be, number one, you need to prepare and you need to start planning for your essays very early, because as you heard most of us say, some of us have taken even 5 years just writing for these essays. Some have done 2 years, some have done 1 year. So number one, preparation is very, very important. You need to spend a lot of time just reading and reviewing your essays, making sure that everything is okay. One of the most important things in your essays is that you do not have any grammatical errors. Another thing is that you need to be very specific and very detailed about what you want to do and what exactly you're explaining. So for example, if you're writing your essay on leadership, for those who have already seen what exactly you've been asked in the essays, you'll see one of the essay needs is around leadership. So they'll ask you, tell us about your leadership experience. So you need to be very specific as possible when you're writing all your essays. When you're giving your examples, kindly just give us specific facts. For example, you went and mentored, for example, 100 girls. When after mentoring the girls, what was the result? And so the girls, for example, were able to improve on their grades from 80% to 100%. You see that aspect of being very, very specific is very important in chevening, because there are about 10,000 people applying in Kenya. So just being among the last 26 is such a great fit that you cannot take any compromise, just being general. And around consulting widely, I've said, as we have mentioned together with Teresia, that it's very important that you have other people review your essays and review your answers for your interview tips, because you will notice that different people have different kinds of advice that they give you. So for example, if I ask my friend Brian to help me review my tips, my essays, he'll be able to give a particular advice. And when you give Irene to review your essays, you will find that I'll give you certain advice, which may be different from what Brian is giving, because Brian is giving from his perspective of how he was able to win that Chevening scholarship. And myself, I'll be giving from my own perspective. So it's very important that you get so many different perspectives. That way you can be able now to judge, okay, so what are the main issues or the general or the common issues that these people are telling you. So another thing is around how you structure your essays, and even how you structure your responses when you get to the interview stage. It's very important that you structure your essays and your responses from a STAR approach. A STAR approach is STAR, like the name STAR. So for the S, it's an acronym. So for the S, it stands for situation. So when you're giving, for example, a story that is defending your response, you need to give, number one, the situation of what was happening. And then the T stands for task. So I'll share on the chat. The A stands for action, and the R stands for result. So you need to use a STAR approach. Basically, that is how the UK and the British people usually write everything, from their essays to their interview responses. So you need to use a STAR approach whenever you're answering or you're writing your responses. And finally, it's very important that you also involve faith and issues of trust in this whole process, because as I'd said myself, for me, when I got that final email that I was selected for a Chevening scholarship, it was a very big surprise, because I remember when I was looking at the group of people who were selected that previous year, I saw people who had worked for Al Jazeera, people who had worked for the UN, and I saw it as a scholarship that is just far up there, that I wasn't in that particular level. So for me, praying and trusting in God that I'll be able to get this scholarship was another very important aspect of my Chevening application process. So I'll just ask anybody, don't just put your trust around what you've written at the, oh, so you I have 10 years of experience, oh, so you have worked so and so. Let me shock you guys. There are people who have worked for the office of the president and they haven't gotten Chevening. There are people who have worked for 20 years in Deloitte and they have never gotten Chevening. Chevening is basically about passion and also putting your trust in God. That is how you get Chevening. I think that's the end of my tip.
Yeah, thanks, Irene. You mentioned very important points there, and I hope we are noting them down. Grammatical errors, that one, there's no compromise. I remember when we did the poster for this, this very session, there was a slight grammatical error on the moderator. It was modulator instead of R. And, you know, we received so many phone calls from Chevening people, alumni, from friends, you know, like, you know, this session is about, you're supposed to tell people how to write good essays, and yet there's a grammatical error, you know, that is so small, but very conspicuous. So in hata kama ni mbaya, please make sure that there's no grammatical error, zero actually, zero. Hata writing, putting 2 T's there, that's huge. You know, that whole, there's people with the OCD who will be looking at the essays, and that automatically turns them off and they will just move to next. So kindly, grammatical errors, there's no room for that. Yeah, and then consulting. I know so many people, and apologies if you're in this session, you sent me your essays. I have a lot of them to review. So also kindly consider, but consult widely, consult with so many people. Thank you, Irene, for that profound tips. Next, Teresia.
Thank you so much, Juma. So my first tip is do your research, educate yourself. This is something that has existed and has been there for years and years. Don't tire. Instead of spending a lot of time maybe, trying to write Juma to tell you more about the scholarship, why can't you just go to Google and actually visit the website, start by understanding everything about what is needed about the essays, then go ahead, search for some of the articles that have been written, go to YouTube, just search for everything, like educate yourself about everything. I think it will do you a lot of justice. Then the other thing is take feedback. When it comes to feedback, feedback is the breakfast of champions. It's not pretty. It's not easy to take. It's not easy to be corrected. But then once you pick it and actually better yourself, please, I know you won't regret. Like, I know feedback is everything. Personally, it has been a journey of taking feedbacks that has actually enabled me to be where I am, even on the essays. I actually thought maybe on the first time, I applied and this is the second time, so I got shortlisted, so maybe I need to work on my interview. That was not it. In fact, I found that I was not even yet there. So I actually worked on myself. I took feedback. By the way, it's painful, but I'm telling you, just use it to make yourself better. It doesn't make you any lesser. Then I love the fact that Irene spoke about the STAR approach. And I'll just mention something small for each and every essay. So on the first essay of leadership, I would encourage everyone to be authentic. No one can be a leader like you, and you're a different leader. Your inspiration is different. How you became a leader is so different. So just focus on your journey, dig deeper, think about when is the first time you ever actually became a leader? What inspired you? Why do you think that you're that leader today? And what has kept you in it to be a leader and continue making the impact in the community and wherever you are? Think about it, think about everything. In this case, give yourself time to connect the dots backwards. Where did you start? Give yourself time. Think about it, meditate about it. And I know everyone who is applying, who is tending to apply for this, is a leader already. Now, because you're a leader, sometimes we are torn and caught in between, doing other things for other people. And every time you're setting time to do something for you, it kind of doesn't actually resonate with you. You're like, no, I'm taking a lot of time with this. Please, one time, can you do this for yourself? So dig deeper, understand where you come from and where you're going to. So on leadership, use the STAR approach that Irene gave you, but remember to be authentic. Remember to even mention, what does leadership mean to you? Leadership means different things for each and every person. Mention that. Then the other thing is on networking. When it comes to networking, think about your path, where you have been. It is because of the networks you have made, how they have impacted on you, your initiatives, your career, and also how has it been, how have your networks actually enabled you to even benefit the people who you serve? Think about it that way. Then the other thing, think about what does networking mean to you? And this comes from actually your experience. This is so authentic, like leadership, networking journey. The whole of this thing about the essays is about you. You only need to give yourself time to think about your journey and connect the dots, and it will be so easy for you. Then the other thing is studying. When it comes to studying, think about, do your research. Why do you want to study this course? Do your research. On your introduction, you can think about the statistics that are existing, maybe the facts that are there. And what is the current situation? What is that problem that you want to solve? You know, link it to your past experiences. Think about where have you been and how has this contributed me to me being inspired to study whatever I want to study. Then go ahead, talk about the universities, do your research, go online, understand why is this university unique? Why do I want to specifically study this course in these universities? Go to the universities, understand how they teach, understand how they do their thing. Each and every university has a different culture that makes it to be authentic as it is. So the other thing is on the fourth essay, the career essay. This is where you also are allowed to dream. What are you going to do immediately when you come back with your course? You're a learned friend from UK. You're back to your country because you're required to come back to your country. So what is it that you have gained and how are you planning to use it? In this essay, do not even make a mistake of mentioning about the past. This is where you talk about the future, okay? Talk about the future. What is your vision? You know, within the first years when you come back, medium term, long term. And this is where also you are allowed to dream. Dream, please, my friend, dream. Think about it, your journey authentically, and dream about it, write about it, paint it in writings, okay? Then the last thing about this is you need to do your research in terms of how you can work with the UK government, okay? And this is where you have to visit the DFID website. Visit the website, get to understand what the UK government is doing, the partnerships, everything about it. I think you will be good. Okay? Yes, that's what I have, Juma. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Teresia. We'll take John's response and then we'll move into Q&A. I see there's so many questions, and already, as you can see, our speakers are really doing their best to tackle them. I see there's a need to form WhatsApp group. I know Aurora will guide us on the same. So, John, I would like to hear from you before we move to the Q&A session.
Yes, so I will try to be as brief as possible because I believe my colleagues have tried to have said most of the relevant points that I would have said, but I would want to add a few. So for the essays, I would go topically. So generally, the thing that you need to be to ensure you do is be as detailed as possible. As my colleague said, be as illustrative as possible. You are going to write to the British. The British, that is their mother tongue. They would want to see that you can express yourself very well in English. So that is one of the selling points that they would use to disqualify as many people as possible. So be as explicit as possible in all your past undertakings. If you want to explain a story, do it briefly, but with as much information packed in there as possible. So for leadership and influence, this is a leadership scholarship. You need to mention every aspect of leadership that you've held before. As tiny as being a monitor in primary school, that may surprise you. That might add some weight to your application. But if it's something that is relevant, if you have held any leadership position anywhere else before, be sure to mention it here and how it added value to you. And if combined with Chevening, if that would improve your leadership capabilities, then you stand a better chance because it shows that you have been a leader before and your potential of being a better leader in future. So be sure to mention as much as possible in terms of your experiences in leadership and in influence. The other thing, studying in the UK, the UK government is picking you from Kenya or from your country to the UK for a reason. Otherwise, they could have sponsored you to study in your university. So they would want you to go and experience the UK culture. You go and experience the environment there, pick as much positive lessons as possible, and bring them or use them to develop yourself as a leader first, and use those experiences to improve your usefulness to society in future. So you need to properly explain how you're going to study in the UK first, why you want to go and study in the UK and nowhere else, why that will be useful to you, why studying in a UK university will be useful to you, why studying that course in the UK university is going to be useful to you, and aspects of culture, because we have so many people studying in the UK, how you interacting with other cultures from around the world is going to be useful to you and build you up as a leader. And how your past experiences and you working or studying in the UK is going to be helpful to you for the short term and for the long term. About networking, I think that has been dealt with properly. Would not want to repeat that. And yeah, career plan has been dealt with before. So for me, I think that's all I could add. I would not want to repeat myself. So that will be all from my side.
Thank you, John. There's something that was said that I really want to stress about numbers and figures. You know, if you say like I trained so many young people, like how many? They want to see the picture. Were they 20? Were they 100? Did you raise, you know, 10,000, 2,000? Like what is the impact or the outcome of your intervention? That is very key. So don't just, you know, just write and hope that they would have the picture behind when you are writing this. So kindly just ensure you put a lot of figures if you have them, and if they can be verified, then you can also include a link if this was posted online to that place too, because that is what I essentially did. We were developing some chatbot, and so they were able to go to that link to see like this is what was happening. And I think the same also came up in my interview. So if you can provide evidence, and if you can put the figures, the numbers, how much amount of money, how many people reached, in what time span, you know, those are very key things to include. Yeah, now we want to move to Q&A. A lot of questions had been asked. So someone was asking, could you please highlight the documents requirements at every stage? For us not to waste time, I think all this information is online, but the main things are, you know, reference letters from two people. One is one from a professional, either supervisor at work or a colleague, and two is from your lecturer. And you'll realize the importance of keeping those relationships with your lecturers. I know some of us graduated in, you know, very early, maybe 2010 or something, but it helps to at least keep in touch with one or two of your lecturers. So they will need one from the school and another one from a colleague or a supervisor or something. Unless you want to comment, Teresia.
So in terms of the reference letters, actually, I think it's quite easy. I think Chevening is one of the most easiest scholarships to actually apply, because you only need the basics, and the basics are like maybe something like your transcript, something like your graduation certificate, something like you know, just the basics actually. And all this, as Juma said, yeah, is what you're going to find on the website. And they're so clear. Please, please, please. I think research will save you big time because it's pretty clear. It's on the website. And then once you start registering actually on the application, you can actually just run through the whole kind of questions and stuff and actually understand what do you need to upload, you know. And then for the references, Juma, and I don't actually think you need to upload them like as you're applying. It's something that is gonna take time. They give you time. They actually give you time. Just make sure you also go through the due dates of each and everything that you need to apply, and this will save you. No pressure, my friends, no pressure. Just take it slow. Get the right information. Come, write it down. Take your time. Just do the right thing at the right time and you'll be okay. No pressure, you know? Yeah.
Yes, true, true. And I think when we started, we said that the referees would be, the reference letters would be uploaded, I think in February 20 something. Let me just pull that up. But of course, again, this information is online. So really, you don't need to stress yourself. Just get the things that you need to get by that time. Yeah, and submit. So this is kind of like the timeline, if you can see. Let me just make sure. Yeah, so application opens and you have 2 months. Don't wait until last week to start applying when you have all this time. And then as you can see, on 22nd February, that's when you're uploading the references, you're uploading the transcripts, you're uploading the certificate. So if you don't have those, you have all this time to upload them. If you do have them, then you can upload as you, as you apply.
Juma, can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
Okay, so as you were talking about the reference letters just now, so could I get one of the letters from my mentor instead of my professor or university? Can I just get it straight away from my mentor and the other one from my office, I mean from my supervisor or manager?
Unless John,
hello, Juma, could you hear me?
Yes, I could hear you. John, you might want to come in.
Let me say that for references, you need to have somebody who is pretty proactive, somebody who uses the internet, because I believe once you apply, they will receive a notification automatically and have about 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I don't remember how long, to send the reference. And if they don't send the reference letter, the system automatically disqualifies you. So you cannot proceed if the letter has not been submitted by your supervisor. So you could have a letter from at least one professor, and you could look for another. So Chevening, I believe Chevening insists that at least one of the references has to be an academic reference. And then I would advise that you look for one professional referee and another referee from your other circles who could give you a good reference or a good account of you. So that would be my advice on the references. Thanks, Juma.
Hello, Brian.
Yes.
Yes, just following up on what John has said, I read a statement that the references are sent to the applicant by their referee, and then it's upon the applicant to upload them. Is it true? Kindly.
Yes, that's true. It's your responsibility to have a PDF copy or a letter scanned, and then you're the one to upload it in the application portal. So the recommenders really don't have to get into the portal and submit. Once they send to you, then you'll be able to either scan, or if you have an electronic copy, just send directly.
Okay, Brian. I think that was a misstatement from my part. I didn't want to misinform someone. I think things changed a bit in between, and probably I was out of touch on that. So, but at least ensure that you have somebody who is reliable. Thank you.
Dikshi. I'm from Tanzania. Greetings to everybody. Hi guys. So
Hi.
this is a quick question. I studied my undergrad program as a part-timer. I went to a local university when I was working hand in hand. So I had like a proper employment as I was working. I don't know if it's a problem or if it's an issue that I've done my undergrad or bachelor's as a part-timer. But I mean, I have a, I have a GPA of 4.0, which is like an upper second out of 5. So is that an issue that I've done my undergrad degree as a part-timer and I was working full-time? If I've studied part-time, if I've done my bachelor's program as a part-timer, is that a problem, or that's fine as long as I've completed? Because I just finished my degree, but I've been working throughout. So I was working full-time. I have a permanent employment, and I was studying part-time. So I was doing 8 to 5 at work and 5 to 9 at the university. But I've graduated. In fact, I'm graduating next month, and I have maybe an upper second, which is a 4.0 as a GPA.
Yeah.
Is that fine?
That's okay. That's okay. First of all, I mean, what they're asking for is just a certificate to be sure that you went through the education system and you finished. So actually, it's a good thing. It's okay. It's okay. No one cares about the process. No one cares about the results. Okay. And,
Yes.
you know, so your process is different, but the certificate is just the same, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So
Great.
go for it.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Yeah, I mean,
I have a question as well. Yeah, so I would like to ask that if a person is already pursuing a master's degree, is he or she eligible to apply for chevening?
As long as you didn't do it under the sponsorship of the UK government, you can do a second or third, master's degree really. But you should not have benefited from the UK government, because this is a government thing, and they know, they will know. For example, if you were sponsored by Commonwealth, they have those records. But if say you are sponsored by someone else, or you sponsored yourself, yes, you can apply for a second master's.
Okay, so basically my situation is I'm studying my master's and I have been awarded a scholarship from Netherlands. So is it a problem to apply for chevening? Will that be a problematic for me? Like
No.
I have no?
No, that's not a problem, because Netherlands is not in the UK. So that's not a problem really. You can still apply.
Okay, thanks so much.
All right. Vincent, I see you have a question.
Yes, thank you so much, guys, and cheers to everyone. So I'm called Vincent Mon. I just have a question. The question is this. Okay, like me personally, I'm following up on the chevening, and actually, I'm not applying now, but I'm planning to apply next year or the year after. So just wanted to ask the panelists, for example, just as we are, like me, let me say, for example, 1 year to applying, what should I actually be doing to at least achieve the 2 years, and that, like, what should I be building on, so that at least, as one I've picked is one to be able to follow up on issues about to start the essay early enough that I'd be prepared. So that is one of them. So is there any other advice you can give such people like us who are inside here? Thank you.
Teresia, I see you want to take that on.
Yeah, guys, there is no pressure. Please, please take your time. 1 year, don't start your essays now. I mean, you still have like 12 months to come, and there is a whole lot of things that comes with 12 months. You know, if I were you, what I could do, I could spend a lot of time to understand what I want to study and think about how what I want to study can be impactful in the community. And with whatever you have, can you start actually doing that impact so that when you're writing your essays in terms of leadership, networking, and all that, you don't have to struggle. You don't have to struggle finding examples. Okay, so there is no pressure. 1 year is a little bit way too early. This thing, you embark on it, you have a month to do it, so you can do it like maybe 2 months earlier or something. But as I said, it's not about how early you start writing, it's not about how late you submit your application, it's about what you write, you know, how you write your essays. It's about the content you include in there. That is what is going to take you to the next level. Okay, so timing is not really of much essence as long as you do the right thing. That's what I could say about that, Juma. Thank you.
Thanks. I see a lot of people are raising their hands. I'll start with Mary.
So I also like to include something.
Yeah, sure. Yes, Irene?
Let me just add briefly that Vincent, one of the ways you can be able to gain or add up experience, given that now you're already studying, is by volunteering. So you have identified the field that you want to do your master's in. So whether it's in, for example, journalism, how are you doing practical work, especially volunteer work, if you can't get, for example, internships and so on, around, for example, journalism. So you doing practical work around that, even if it's volunteering, for example, a period of like years, will be able to build up to that work experience that is needed.
Yes, Marie Claire?
Thank you for the inspiring session. My question is with regards to the essays. Any of the speakers could answer. I was just wondering, do you have any tips or any advice on generally, like it's 500 characters, like how you should ideally conclude your essays given the character limit?
I would ask John to tackle that. How do you conclude your essays, given we have the word count? And please don't go beyond the word count, and it should also not be, you know, too little. Yes, John?
Yes, so on the essays, really, there is no starting or finishing formula. The trick is on how you package your information. That's why I was saying you need to be very particular on how to address an issue within with very few words, but be candid about what you're talking about. So you don't have to go around the bush, just get straight to the point. The best way to improve your essays is to get somebody else to proofread for you, and they will give you you will get tips on how to improve the question or improve the essay, so that it becomes something that could be more compelling.
Thanks. Anyone wants to add something on that? Claire Namwenge, I see you have your hand up.
Oh, okay. Good evening to you all. Thanks for the session. It's been so inspiring and eye-opening, especially to us who are applying for the first time. But my question could be kind of a little bit different, because I did a different bachelor at undergrad, but then when I entered into the professional work, I did something that was a little bit different from what I studied. So my my postgrad, I want to do something majorly in what my profession is all about, because right now I'm doing work in humanitarian and development settings, which is major dealing with refugees, and also being able to amplify the policies at national level to make sure that the refugees are catered for, and also including the other part of the communities and also the people generally in the country. Would it affect my application if what I want to do at master's is different from what I did at my undergrad? Because that's one of my major fears, that I did a different course at undergrad, but I want to major into something else at my postgrad.
Irene, you might want to respond to that.
Yes, Claire, you
Yes.
do not have a problem that you did a different undergrad and now you want to do a different postgrad, given that you have already the professional experience in that particular. So what basically you will be stressing out in your essays is around the professional work experience that you have. So that won't be a problem.
Thank you.
Alvin, Amala?
Brian, let me make a little addition. I'm saying there is no problem at all as long as you can do a justification of why you would want to make the switch. So really there is no problem at all. Just have reasons, solid reasons, convincing reasons why you want to do the switch. Yeah, that's all.
Sure. Calvin, you have a question? Erickson?
Yes.
Yes.
Good evening, team.
Evening.
Yeah, I really want to appreciate you for giving or creating this very, very important forum. I'm Erickson Ngetich from Bungoma County, and I've been passionate so much in applying for these Chevening scholarships. But in most cases, when you go to the site, especially you create the account, and then there is a section that allows you to choose the university, or you can search the course vis-a-vis the university, and that is where I find a lot of problem, especially when I'm applying, because after you find the course or the university, then I may not find the next procedure on how to go about the application of this course in the Chevening.
So are you using your phone or a computer when applying?
Okay, I normally use the laptop when doing that.
Because the laptop should allow you to open multiple tabs. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, and I mean, what I would say about that is that once you're sure about where you want to study, that's the first thing, what you want to study and where, then it shouldn't be a problem really in the application form. Because what Chevening will ask you is, where do you want to study and which course, and have you already applied to those institutions, you know? So it's not asking you to apply at that moment, but just asking you, have you already applied? If you have, are you awaiting decision, or you already have an unconditional offer? So you'll just select either of those three and then proceed with your application. Now, what I did, I just identified the three institutions, put them in the application, but then I applied later on, before the interviews, really. Because the first thing, what I want to stress is that you'll definitely get the admission in those universities, but without the scholarship, really, some of us cannot afford to study there, you know. So you want to really put your effort first in the scholarship, and then later on you can apply to those universities. Dennis, come out.
Yes, I have a question. So good evening, guys. I'm Kamau from Kenya. I have a question specifically to Teresia and anyone else who has applied before and failed and was selected the second time. I would really love to know what did she do, or what did they do in order to improve the essays? What's the catalyst? Yeah, that's my question.
So are you asking like how did they write their essays, or what is your question?
Okay, anyone who has applied before knows how the process goes. Like I applied and I was not selected. That's why I was asking for a real case study from Teresia, because she knows where and how she improved her essays, or what did she do. Just a piece of advice or something of the sort.
Juma?
So,
oh.
Yeah, Teresia, I think the question was directed to you. But yeah, it's a tricky one, you know.
No, it's not tricky, actually. You know, I actually understand where you're coming from. By the way, do not take it personal. I think it's just the process. Once you're rejected once, don't take it personal. In Kenya, we make that simple joke that goes like, usisikie vibaya, you know, usisikie vibaya, because this is just the journey. This is just a process. I think the trick to everything is just, you know, wanting to correct yourself, wanting to work on yourself, because sometimes you ask yourself, why didn't they select me? Is it me who is the problem, or are they the problem? Then you start actually doing your research to find out, why didn't I get it? Because like for me, getting up to the interview level was something like quite an achievement. But then at the end of the day, the goal is you want to win the scholarship. And so for me, when I didn't win the scholarship, I had to go back, understand what is it that you didn't do right, you know, in my writings, in the flow of my vision in terms of what I wanted to do. And actually, what Irene told me, and Irene is here, it's quite interesting because once I reached out to her, she told me, you need to rethink about the career path, what you want to go and do, because at the end of the day, you have been doing this from the past. How is it connecting to your future? And actually came to find out whichever course I had applied had nothing to do with whatever I had done in future. So I had not taken my time exactly to understand who I am, to understand what I want to do, to understand my future. But then when I did it, once they rejected me, I'm actually so grateful they rejected me, because I came back when I was so stronger, with much good experience that will actually help me once I come here. Once I get out of here, I can always go back and work on the areas that I want to work on very well. So it gave me that opportunity to realize myself so much better. So don't feel bad. Actually, just work on yourself, understand yourself more. You know, in terms of what you write, in terms of what you say at the interview level, you actually need to just look back and think about, okay, what didn't go well? And then you work on yourself. You know, it doesn't make you any lesser, and it doesn't define you. Just because Chevening rejected you for the first time, it doesn't define your greatness. It doesn't define who you are. You know, it's just the process. Please just keep on working on yourself and don't give up on yourself. Just keep working on yourself. Dennis?
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I now understand. Now that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have really answered my question. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Swaga is asking, what happens when I get a conditional offer? So conditional offers, mostly they will outline the things that you need to submit, mostly the English test, before they can give you unconditional offer. So Chevening has that policy whereby by July 20th or something like that, you have to give them at least one unconditional offer from one university, meaning you have to satisfy all the conditions that are outlined in that university to get the unconditional offer. So really, if you have conditional offer, there's no other way. You'll have to satisfy those conditions before they can give you, and most of the universities are pretty much understanding. For example, in my case, I Googled director of studies in that department, and I was able to tell them that, look, my undergrad was in English, so I don't really need the English test, but because I feel I can understand the concepts in English. But I'm not saying it's a way out. So for me, luckily, I didn't have to take the test, but most universities will require you to do that. So you have to get the unconditional offer before July if you're selected for Chevening. Any other question?
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes, so my question is to Irene. Does having a foundation or some organization give you an added advantage? Like I can see Teresia had some foundation, you have a foundation, something like that. So does that give you an added advantage? And the second one to Irene still, does publishing an article or something like being a scholarly article give you an added advantage, publishing a scholarly article?
Okay, Wilfred.
Yes.
On your first question, you say, myself, I don't have any foundation. I just applied from my voluntary experience with the Youth Senate Kenya, and I was able to get that particular scholarship. So I don't think that you owning a foundation or having any NGO as the founder will give you an added advantage. It's basically how you demonstrate your passion for that particular course or field and how you've demonstrated you are already engaged in that particular work, and there's a gap that will be filled if you acquired a master's degree. On your second question, kindly remind me.
Does publishing a scholarly article, like in whatever?
Yeah. So publishing a scholarly article will give you credibility, basically, because it will be able to demonstrate that the work that you're saying you have been doing in your essays is actually true. So I will say it will really give you a head that what you're saying in your essays is actually true. It will really give you a good start with especially your interviewers. They will see that basically you're not giving them theories, but you have demonstrated the work that you have actually received. So it will be really helpful in your interviews.
Yeah, thanks, Irene. I see Light Juma, who is also one of the current scholars, who has a lot of experience in writing. So Light, I'll let you respond to that as well, if you can talk.
Yeah, I can. Hi guys, sorry for coming in late. Yeah, just on that last point, it's not really necessary, but it's important because personally, I had actually started a blog, but I had not been writing. So if you can show that, you'll be consistent, or you show that you sort of have that experience, it's good, but not necessary. So anyone who doesn't have a blog or anyone who hasn't written scholarly should not feel discouraged, you know, for applying. It's just how you sell it, because you can have many other platforms, like, you know, your social media handles and stuff like that, that you can show, you know, you contribute somehow to important conversations around your field. So that's just my little addition. But yeah, thank you, Juma, for giving me a chance to speak as well. Thanks.
Thanks. We are glad you could join us.
Okay, my question is, okay, let's say you have taken several leadership roles, let's say around 5 or 6, and as Teresia has said, you can include around a maximum of 3 leadership roles. Is it advisable to take from previous roles, or we can mix, or we can just check and let's say choose around 3 that you feel is applicable to your application?
It really depends. I'll let other speakers also share, but I think, so last year I had applied for MasterCard and I reached up to the interview stage and I didn't get in, but they were kind enough to give me some feedback, and they said in one of the statements that I was all over the place in my leadership skills essay, because I was talking about so many things at the same time. And so it would be important to maybe focus on one leadership skills and show them how that has improved your skill, and how that how it has also impacted other people whom you are inspiring. So for me, I mean, different people take it differently, but for me, from what I learned, is focus on one experience and really broaden it to show how it has made you grow over the years. Teresia?
So one thing for sure, and it's something that is why I think the point of actually getting your time to, you know, review your essays as many times as you can. I don't think there is anyone who has a perfect draft. Immediately they do the essay and you're like, oh no, I don't need to edit that. Any write-up, you still need to go back to actually effectively keep on checking what is relevant, what is not relevant. And then the other thing, I remember on my first application, when I started doing some mock interviews with Stephen told me there can be a person who has one story, one achievement, but the way they tell that story, my friend, you know, it is so convincing. And even if they change the world of one person, that person would actually be seen as the person who actually deserves to take the scholarship, you know? So for me, for sure, actually, like I've done a lot, but then I also had to learn the art of telling a story. I had to learn how to connect stories from here and there, because this is the other thing you want someone who is reading your essay to see, is that you want that person to follow through. You want to take this person, you know, through a journey that from, you know, 2016, this is how I networked. And out of this networking, I went to the next step. And out of this networking as well, it took me to another level. So you want that person to actually follow up. In terms of leadership, you can be talking about leadership from maybe in 2016, this is what I did, you know, this is how I have followed through this journey. You want this person actually to follow through. So I think how you structure everything, you know, determines so many things. The person who's reading, how are you able to convince this person? You know, take that person through a journey. And as I said, be careful about how you put your wordings, how you connect your sentences, your paragraphs, because, you know, a person can have one story, but the way they tell it, my friend, makes them to automatically, you know, not be second guessed about the opportunity. So it's all about how you review everything, find the rhythm, the flow, and also think about the person who is reading, which brings us to the attention of, even if it's not someone who has been a Chevening scholar, you can actually have this peer-to-peer kind of, you know, review of the essays, because as we said, this is a very authentic journey. There is no one who can copy your journey. Everyone has a different journey. And so the best thing you can do, once you work together, you're able to actually correct each other and get better together. Yeah.
I see someone was asking in your selection of universities if you can be able to change the course later on. You cannot, unfortunately. So be very keen when you're selecting your courses and the universities at this point. Yes, I'll give the chance to 2 more people and then we close this. Anyone can go, really.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to ask, for each bit of the essays, do you have to conclude by saying, let's say, how this scholarship will improve maybe the leadership skill, the networking skill and all that? Do you have to wrap up the essay with that, or you can just end it where you give examples of where you have employed your leadership skills? Thank you.
I'll let you answer that.
Kindly repeat the question. I had halfway, but I just want to understand the whole question.
Okay, I was asking, in every bit of the essay, do you have to conclude by saying how Chevening will help you improve that? Maybe if it's a leadership skill, you have to like mention how you think Chevening will improve that. If it is networking and all that, do you have to like wrap up in every bit of how Chevening will help you in that?
Yeah. So just, I mean, if you go through the questions, you know, there is a question and it's saying, like, for example, the leadership question is like, the Chevening is about supporting leaders. How do you think your leadership comes out, and, you know, all that stuff. So you have to connect your individual story with how the Chevening scholarship is connecting in, because on leadership, Chevening is big on leaders. So how are you feeding into that? What are you bringing into that community? Networking. Chevening is about this, like, over 35,000 scholars around the world. So what is your networking skills bringing to it? How do you demonstrate that you yourself, you will be an active member of that what do you call it, of that network? And then studying in the UK, definitely, how is Chevening helping you to study in the UK? Of course, that is very straightforward. And then your plans later on, you see. So you really, I mean, it's all sort of giving the reason, you know, you have to give your reason why Chevening is really important in all these questions. So you know, for me personally, my last statement in my essays just had that what do you call it, a conclusion, you know, that, you know, with all this, Chevening will help me to do all these things and, you know, improve my country and stuff like that. So definitely you have to bring your story, just as Teresa was saying, and link it up to the main thing, which is why Chevening is important in you achieving all these things. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, thank you so much.
Teresia, you can say your last remarks as we conclude.
Yes, what I have to say, you can do this, people. You can do this, people. By the way, you can do this. Do not let anyone tell you cannot try it. Don't let anyone tell you like you don't have like enough of whatever it takes. If you really feel like you want this actually and you can do this, just go forth. Do it actually. And remember, everyone has their own journey. We can come here, we can give you the stories, but your story will never be similar to another person's story. So please, you know, trust your dopeness. Just go ahead, apply and do it. Do not try, please do not try. Just go ahead and do it, because, you know, once you have that attitude of doing it, you don't have that attitude of like, oh, you know, I might not, or whatsoever. Just give it the best. That come, come February next year, whatever you get as the feedback, you're like, hey, I gave this my best. And for sure, I know even if I was taken back to the same thing, I couldn't actually do it any other much better. So please, please just do it. Do it. And make sure you believe in yourself. Trust your dopeness. You can do this. Thank you.
Thanks, Teresia. I know studies are catching up, but you could take your time to attend this. Thank you so much. I don't know if we still have Irene or John in the call. Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, it's all about your why. Like, why do you want to go and study that particular course in the UK? So when you have an answer to your why, I think the rest will be basically very easy for you, because as I'd said earlier, chevening is just about showing your passion and your commitment to what you're saying. So when you're able to show that to the panelists, they'll not have any problem selecting you to the chevening scholarship. So yeah, just go and have your me time and have the time to discover yourself and understand why do you want to do what you want to do.
Thanks, Irene. Light, in one or two sentences, what would you say as we conclude?
Thank you so much. Again, I mean, you're giving me an opportunity that came right at the end, but I agree with what Teresa is saying. You can do it, and I've just if I know someone has allowed me, so you can read my story I have posted, but it does not necessarily mean that you have to do it so many times. If you take all the points that has been shared today and many others that are out there, definitely you can do it at the first go. So don't feel discouraged, or maybe someone tried 2 times or 3 times or 6 times like me. No, if you get your facts right, if you're really passionate about this, if you really want it, then go for it. Let no one tell you anything, and just connect with Juma, connect with Teresia, and I'm sure they'll be able to guide you further. And I'm also available if you need. I've seen one person here who reached out to me. I didn't know them. I just reviewed, and yeah, they're able to do that. So definitely just take it up, and yeah, hopefully we'll have the number increases. I know someone had asked about the number, but it's not really determined until the next year. So we're looking to usher in more Kenyans and more other scholars, even if from other countries. So thank you once again, and all the best to you all. Thanks.